Welcome, Christian metal community. We're here with Warpriest, and we're going to be finding out about them and their music today. I'm Jimmy, one of the moderators and admins at the Christian Metal Group, and we got Jay. What's up, Jay?
Right, right. Hey, what's up? And of course, I'm also one of those guys that does moderating and who knows what else,
Yeah,
leadership, basically.
we're
So,
behind the scenes here.
right.
So Warpriest, tell us what your names are and what you do in the band.
Oh, I'm Robert Wilson, and I write all the music, do the recording, play bass, guitar, do some vocals, and do a lot of the design work for the album. Like the CDs and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Everything you see
nice.
in there. Um, so I'm a jack of all trades when it comes to the band, and then
Wow.
my wife.
I'm Elise Wilson, and I do vocals, and I do the oil paintings that become all the album covers,
Oh, wow.
and drawings and paintings I do also gets turned into the T-shirts. So we have original art.
So
Yeah.
y'all are really a do-it-yourself band, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's so
yeah, we
cool.
do everything.
So, and y'all are out of Atlanta, Georgia area. So, you can answer this, kind of however you want to, both of you, or however. What? So, did you grow up in a religious home?
For me, no. I grew up in, I would say, a spiritual home in the sense my mom was into the new age and a lot of things, and
Oh, wow.
she had a sense of spirituality which she instilled in me. But when I was about 10 years old, I we moved down to South Florida. I went to a private school that was Christian,
Okay.
and that's where I got the gospel. And so, like a lot of people, I understood everything. Thought I would, could be a good person and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I was about almost 21 that all that they poured into me finally hit home, and
Yeah.
gave my life to the Lord then. So that's about as much of the spirituality I had in my household.
For me, I was raised by my grandmother, and she was a Catholic.
Hmm.
So I grew up in that environment, but for some interesting reason, I never really had any interest in becoming a Catholic.
Hmm.
Um, when I moved to the city, and I went to live with my aunt and uncle, my American uncle, that eventually adopted me, I went to a Catholic school. So again, I was getting a lot of that kind of teaching, but
Yeah.
still had no interest in becoming a Catholic. Um, it wasn't until I was 12, I was introduced to the Mormon religion and went to the Mormon church. And I accepted Christ there. And shortly after, I moved to the US. And I felt like in my spirit, the Lord talking to me and saying, do not go back to that church. And I had no idea why. And I found out much later in youth group what the Mormon church stood for. And the Lord just weaved the right people in my life. And I ended up going to a church in South Florida and started to learn actually for the first time about God's word and who Christ was and what he did for me. And yeah, and then from there, I went to a special school, like a Juilliard type of school, and the Lord placed my best friend in my class. A lot of people thought it was by accident, but we know there's no such thing as accidents with the Lord. And through him, I went to his church, and I was able to learn so much more about the Lord and just grow in my faith and meet the love of my life in youth group.
Nice. Super
Wow,
cool.
that's quite a story and a journey there.
Really is.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Right. Well, let's talk about music for a second. Did you all grow up in musical homes?
I'll let you answer this one first.
Yeah, so like I said, I was raised by my uncle, my American uncle, um, and which he adopted me later. So I call him dad. And he really always had music playing in the house, a lot of American artists. So, funny things that I grew up listening to, almost the same artists as Robert did in the US, but in Brazil. And before that, my grandfather had a real big love for American music. So, every Sunday morning, he would be blasting his music. The whole neighborhood got a show every Sunday morning, and it was all American music. So, yeah, definitely music was always a big part of my life. And my biological dad also loved music and loved to go to clubs and listen to music and dance. And so, music has always been definitely a big part of my life.
Sure.
I think for me, I would say no. I mean, like most people, my mom played music and, and enjoyed it and stuff, but it wasn't a really big thing in my household. The funny thing is the first time I really got uh, excited about music was I think it was sixth grade, we had choir, and I hated singing. And so they offered us to start up band. And I just jumped on that. I was like, I just wanted to get out of choir and singing. So I got into band, and of all things, they put me on the trombone. And so I did that for a couple years. And then got out of school, and a friend of mine was said, "Hey, let's start up a band." And he goes, "I want you to play bass." So we went out, bought myself my first bass and an amp, and that's where it started from right there. We never did a band, we never did anything, but I just sat in my room then and just started playing and started getting more into music. And really, I think probably 15 or 16 was when I really felt like I started really getting into music. Like before that, it was just always there. You listen to music. MTV, I think, started when I was about 11 or so. And so I would watch MTV all the time and stuff. But so that was how I got really into music.
That's awesome. So I was going to ask, you're from Brazil. Do you get into any of the Christian metal bands from that area? Like we did an interview with a band called Anti Demon. There's quite a few down there. Are you familiar with any of them?
Actually, I'm not. I was actually excited to hear that there is an actual scene, and metal is it's huge in Brazil.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of contact with my family. It's just very brief online, just hi or whatever, and just little clips of what's going on in their lives. So, but I have been told by one of my cousins that they have a huge metal scene there. After they saw our recent video for Warpriest,
That's
they told
awesome.
me, "Oh yeah, we're familiar with Christian metal. We have a lot of bands here, but I'm not familiar with them. So yeah,
Yeah.
send them my way."
Yeah, we'll have to share some. I mean, Anti Demon's the first one that comes to mind, but there's actually quite a few.
Oh yeah.
So I know. So y'all are in the more of the doom metal style. So the Skull and Trouble, which I love, have their albums and all. So I know you kind of talked a little bit. So what was it like getting into metal, and what led to that style of music for both of you that you wanted to pursue?
For me, I think it was more of a natural progression. Like I said, when I was about 14, 15, and I started, I mean, like before that, when I was a kid, watching MTV, there was Quiet Riot, there was Def Leppard, got into those bands, but that was just more because that's what was in at that time. And then when I started getting old, I think my first albums I bought were Led Zeppelin. That's always been my biggest favorite band around is Led Zeppelin. So I got into that first. And then when the later 80s started coming around, I had friends who were introducing me to Motley Crue and Kiss. And then I started getting into The Cult, which is one of my favorite bands. And the funny thing was, I wasn't really into Doom back then. And it wasn't till I really started writing my own music later on that I just started gravitating towards that way. Like I really wasn't even like when I was younger, I wasn't a big Black Sabbath fan. Of course, the school I went to, we were taught almost all music was satanic and evil and stuff like that. So
Of
it like a
course.
lot of that stuff just scared me when I was a kid. I was like, if I start listening to it, demons are going to come out of the radio and and stuff. So I just wouldn't listen to stuff like that. So that was kind of how I started getting more into it. And then I discovered. Funny thing is, I went to a store that used to sell. You remember how you'd go and you'd listen to cassettes and they'd have the
Oh,
demos in some of the Christian bookstores. Well, this one used to buy all those demos from people, and so they had a back room you could go in and you could get these things for like a couple bucks.
yeah.
And so me and this one friend, we would just go there and we'd pick up everything. And I started listening to Randy Rose, Mad at the World, and they even one time had Trouble. They didn't know it wasn't a strictly Christian band. So that's when I started getting into more of that kind of stuff and listening to other bands. That's
Sure.
my side of it. I don't know about.
Well, for me, like I said, because of my adopted dad, I listened to a lot of American music, but just a real diverse from classical to opera to classic rock to pop. So it was a very rich environment for
Yeah.
me. But I naturally gravitated. I remember back when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, really loving metal and rock. And
Yeah.
they would have the Rock in Rio, and they would pipe the concert live on the radio. And my parents would leave and do their thing, and I would be home alone, and I would be cranking that up, listening to Scorpion and Queen, and just loving all of that vibe, and just that the sound. I just love the chunky guitars. I love the vocals. I was just really just it really made me happy and made me excited, and just gave me a zest for life. So metal has always been in my core, I guess, even though I have a love for all music.
Right. Right.
But I always come back to metal.
Of course.
And then when I moved to the US, my boyfriend was in my special school that I went to, kind of like a Juilliard type of school. I went for art, he went for music. And he started introducing me to bands like Petra. And I was introduced to Striper. So that was like, that's my thing. So I was really excited. And at the same time, because of that friend, that my best friend that got accidentally put into my art program, I got introduced to all kinds of wonderful, wonderful bands. Gosh, what was
Deliverance,
Deliverance, Tourniquet.
Exalt was one we used to
I
listen
mean,
to.
just really wonderful, wonderful, talented bands, and that just opened up a whole new world for me, and what the gospel can be
Right.
preached in an accessible way, and in a way that young people can really understand and relate, and not be preachy, and you can introduce it to your friends that like metal,
That's so good. Yeah.
and they can understand it and get it and not feel like they're being threatened or put down, but they can really listen to the message of just, well, God loves you, and there's so much more to life than just this. There's more than just rock and roll.
They would do things
Yeah.
like blast a Sacred Warrior or
Yeah.
Haven,
Oh, yeah.
tell the kids that it was Queensryche or something like that in the school.
So me and my friend Mike, he passed away young, but me and Mike, we were always together. Mike always carried a Bible with him throughout school, and my teacher, she was amazing. She gave us the studio to ourselves. She separated us from all the other kids, so we had our studio to ourselves.
Wow.
And we used to blast Christian metal music in the school for hours, because we had like several art major classes together. And it was just amazing. It was such a great experience, good memories of just having all of that Christian message, but in a way that I could relate and enjoy, around us during that teen time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to
So
hear that.
yeah.
The metal community is definitely it's different. It brings
True.
people together, and yeah, I love it.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, those are exciting times because we're all discovering these bands for the first time, and sharing with each other. Oh my gosh, did you listen to this? Check this out. And of course, we had the cassette tape. Make the copy and pass it along.
Yeah, I think that I'm thinking about like the legacy that you all are to some of the uh, doom artists that came before. I think in Christian music now, I probably like I'm familiar with so much in so many genres, but I definitely gravitate towards the extreme metal side of things when it comes to personal like preference and just listening in leisure time. I think about obviously the Skull would probably be, even though like you already said, it's not really a Christian album per se, but lyrically it definitely is, of course.
Yeah.
And I think so far, a lot of people, it's been a consensus over the years that Paramecium, you familiar with Paramecium?
Yes.
Yeah, so Paramecium's first album, Exhumed from the Earth, like kind of stands as like, if not the greatest, then definitely one of the greatest Christian doom albums of all time. But really, like some bands have flirted with a lot of doom, like Tourniquet has, Ancestor has, and quite a few others. But I'm definitely thinking like Ancestor's album, Martyrium, whatever. That album is it's really doomy, which is beautiful. That was like one of my first exposures to doom outside of Paramecium. But yeah, like Tourniquet, like they had a few songs, and then they actually did a Black Sabbath tribute.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm trying to remember, but I think Ted played with Trouble for a bit or something like that.
Yeah, he did.
That's
he played.
one
He
of
was
his.
drummer for Trouble before he joined Tourniquet.
Yeah. So he had those ties.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
yeah. For me, I think one of the biggest influence when I was in my teens and young adult, I would say, was Randy Rose.
Yeah, Randy Rose, absolutely. And
Yeah.
kind of Danzig type of style going on.
Yeah, definitely. Funny thing is that I didn't, even I watch MTV and all that, I didn't know Danzig. I knew about Randy first.
No, you're not missing out. No.
So
Well, that's kind of the same. Like I had never really listened to Trouble, and so I would listen to like Tourniquet covering The Tempter.
The Tempter, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this song's so cool!" And then I find out later on, I'm like, "Oh, it's Trouble." I was like,
"Man, I think one of my favorite things about them covering The Tempter is when they did it live. The times they did it live, Bruce Franklin actually played guitar with them.
that's cool.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
there's
another one.
They actually brought Bruce Franklin to Cornerstone one year.
Oh wow!
Oh, cool.
And
did you get to see that live?
I wish I got to see that.
Oh man!
I didn't go to Cornerstone until much later, and my parents would have been like, "No, you can't go." there should still be some footage somewhere on YouTube of Bruce Franklin playing The Tempter with them. It was if I'm not mistaken, it was right before Guy left. So it was around the time right before Pathogenic Ocular Dissonance came out. So yeah, 91.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, around that time. Yeah, another good one. Y'all familiar with Victor Griffin?
Yeah. Yes.
Man, his Place of Skulls and Engraved. Those are some, man, I love those albums too.
Yeah, I mean, even what's the song that Pentagram played? All Your Sins. You listen to that song, and it's it's telling you, for everything you do bad, you're going to go to hell. It's that's one of the things that attracted me to doom is a lot of Black Sabbath or even Trouble. There's some discussion about Eric Wagner and whether he was a Christian or not, but a lot of that is just straight up gospel written into those tunes. And it's an interesting thing that I find that a lot of doom music has that, and a lot of the fans are very accepting of it. But if you come out as a Christian band, sometimes they're like, "Oh well, no, we don't want to listen to that."
Oh yeah. Well, that's part of where having the quality and all that comes into play too, because there are Christian bands that are just as good as anything else out there, or if not
Oh yeah,
better.
absolutely.
But people also have to give them a chance, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Christian music has come a long way, especially the metal genre has come a long way, and there's so many different styles now that we didn't have that growing up when we were young, and
Right.
it's just so cool to see the next generation just expanding and expressing themselves in such a high level too, very high level.
So what are some of your newer favorite Christian bands that you maybe listened to or found out about in the last 5 years or so, whatever, something like that?
That's tough because a lot of my focus has been more on the secular market because I tend to be more of like our band is traditional doom, so I tend to like that style, and I
Yeah,
don't really find a lot of Christian bands that are playing that style right now.
yeah.
Um, like one of my all-time favorites is Randy Rose and what he puts out. Um, it would I don't know if you sometimes you might categorize it as a little bit more stoner. Uh, Talking to Randy, he likes Queens of the Stone Age. He likes a lot of artists that aren't totally doom or even that heavy of metal. And but his style and what he puts out and the quality and everything is just one of the things that I always love. Whatever he's doing. Um, when it comes to newer bands, probably the last really band that I got into is Theocracy. But I'm trying to think if there's anything newer that when it
Yeah.
comes to the Christian,
I saw
because I'm not
them
really into a lot of the
I
core.
saw them in Atlanta, man. They put on a good show.
Yeah, well, we've seen them about 3 or 4 times since we're here.
I think I've seen him more because
Yeah,
I went by myself and hang out with Matt. Yeah, we've been friends with Matt for a while,
yeah.
from
Oh,
the
nice.
beginning.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Robert actually designed the first album cover
No,
for
second,
was the
the Mirror
second
of Souls.
Mirror of Souls. Yes,
Oh,
he
wow,
designed.
that's so
Yeah,
cool. So is that like a do you do that full time?
No, actually, that was man. It's been so long now. I guess like maybe 15 years ago or so, I mean, I got into art, did a lot of design work and stuff. So I started offering my work to a lot of artists. So I've worked with X Center, uh,
Wow.
GX. I'm actually working with X Center right now on the next one that's coming up. But I haven't really. I kind of put that aside when I was doing Warpriest. But I did Mirror of Souls. I did a King James album cover.
love
I
it.
did.
You've done work for Jason Wisdom.
I've done a lot of work helping Jason Wisdom out with like Death Therapy. I didn't do any of the covers, but I've helped them set up shirts and stuff. And so I've done a lot of stuff on the side. I work a lot with George Ochoa. So like the Human
Oh,
Code album
nice.
cover,
Yeah.
I
We're
designed
setting up
that.
an interview with them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of those guys
You did work
and
for the
stuff.
label, record label,
Yeah, I
for
worked
a
with
while.
Retroactive for a while.
Okay.
Most of that was cleaning up some of the old artwork.
Yeah.
Like
Scott Waters?
I don't. I worked with him on some stuff because when I was on working with Retroactive. Scott was also helping out, and so we
Hmm.
emailed and stuff, but we really hadn't connected that much. And
Gotcha.
so I hadn't done anything for them in a long time, but I kind of got out of it, and just because I started getting into the music and I really wanted to do that more. So then everything I was doing was for my band. So like anything you see, like the T-shirts and all the artwork and stuff is usually me working in the background on that kind of stuff too.
You did
So,
work for King James as well.
but that was for Retroactive. The album The Fall. I don't even think they had a good copy of the old artwork. And if you ever saw the old artwork, it's like a mess. It's just a bunch of stuff all
Yeah.
over.
King
So
James
they
is
had me redo
actually
that one.
somehow they got them to they're going to be playing at Immortal Fest this year. I saw them on the
Oh, that's
lineup.
cool.
Yeah, I've been the last 2 years and got to see like Sacred Warrior and a bunch of Fear Not and all, but
Right.
King James on there. I saw that was kind of surprising. I guess it was surprising, a lot of the bands that they get though, because that would be the only show they play all year.
Right.
Yeah, that's exciting. The guys from King James are very, very nice, very sweet guys.
We got to see him up in the
up in the
mountains of
mountain.
Georgia. They were playing a small church there. Jimmy, the lead singer, he lives. I'm trying to think. He's down around Atlanta
south.
somewhere. I can't remember. So they went to a church there, and we got to hang out with, talk to them and everything. Got them to sign the album cover.
Yeah.
Fan.
I got to video the concert, so they had something to post on YouTube. So that was cool.
But that was like, I don't know. Like
that was forever
15 years ago.
And we keep saying we need to hang out with them. And oh my gosh, life happens. But yeah, so he's been busy doing a lot of work for other people, other artists behind the scenes for a while. And I thought it was about time that he focused on something that he could create and he was passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now I forgot what the question was.
Well, originally, I think the last question was, what are some of if there are any newer bands?
Oh, the newer bands. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, Alter Bridge.
Well, he was talking about Christian.
Oh, Christian.
Well, I mean, it don't have to necessarily be Christian, but
Christian, I would say Love and Death.
Okay.
Love and Death was huge. Got to see them, got to hang out with Brian before he exploded again. Really nice guy, really down to earth.
Yeah, I got to see him a couple times. Once as Head, and then I got to see Love and Death that came back through.
I'm trying to remember whether he was Love and Death when he came here, if he was just touring under.
I think the first concert that we went at, the first one, me and you, it was just him. It was Brian. It was the first.
Did you?
It was before he was officially Love and Death.
Did y'all get to meet JR, the guitarist?
What's that?
JR, did y'all get to meet JR Barris?
Oh yeah, JR.
Dude, he's so cool. He plays with Spoken too.
Super sweet.
It was they were playing at the Masquerade down in Atlanta. This was back when it was at its old location, and it was hilarious because JR came out later on wearing a dress, and I think he surprised Brian. Brian didn't know, and Brian was like looking at him. And the cool thing about it was, like she said, it was before he got huge again, so we actually got to just hang out with him afterwards.
Right.
The cool thing about the Christian metal scene sometimes is that the artists are not always huge, and you get to hang out with them. But then that's the sad aspect, is they're not huge. And
yeah, man, I love the Masquerade, man. I've seen a lot of shows there. That's a great place. Have you been to the Tabernacle?
We actually saw Alter Bridge there.
Alter Bridge.
Man, that's one of the best venues I've ever been to. I saw Under Oath do their reunion tour there. The sound was amazing.
It was good. Alter Bridge was unbelievable. I mean, it was like you're just listening to the album.
Yeah, so tight.
But we ended up, I didn't listen to my wife, and so she was like, we need to get there early. And I said, it's just Alter Bridge, right? It's not that bad. So we got there 15 minutes or so before the concert started. Walked in the place, it was just packed because we had just general admission tickets. So ended up going to the nosebleed,
the top of the
thing.
Oh wow! It still on the third floor. Y'all were on the
it was
balcony.
Third, fourth. I don't know.
We were up in heaven.
That's crazy. Jay, have you ever heard of a place called the Tavern or the Caverns?
Yeah, no, I have not, but I do need to get down there to that area.
Well, the Caverns is up in it's up in Tennessee somewhere.
Yeah.
It's an actual cave where they do concerts.
And we do have one of those in Kentucky, in Cave City. There's
nice
there.
Okay, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, super cool. So
besides Love and Death, another group that I really, really love, and that's Death Therapy, and that's
Jason Wisdom,
with Jason again. Fantastic. Just really, really loved. I was so excited when he came out with that album. It was just stellar. Just loved the sound. A little bit of industrial in there. That just made it really special.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
we got to see him play a couple times.
Oh yeah, we got to go VIP at the little studio And
VIP's not much when there's only like 20 people.
But it was so awesome because there was only 20 people. Come on.
But I got a shout out for
So funny.
I don't know if you know Cindy Blankenship.
Oh,
They
oh
call
yeah.
her Mothership.
I
Mothership.
listened to her podcast.
You probably know.
Yeah, so when we went there for this event, it was what was it, like an album release?
It was the album release. Yes.
Yeah, so it was like
The album party.
she cooked all this food, and
So
they were like,
sweet.
we went there and they're like, have some food and everything. And we're almost feeling bad. We're like, it's okay.
Yeah, Cindy knows
She's
how
a great woman, though.
Cindy knows how to take care of you.
Yeah, we need to get. I'd like to get her into the Christian metal group. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah, I should tell her. Yeah, we've been friends for a while. We actually met at the Love and Death concert.
Yeah, tell her she has no choice.
That's right. That's right.
All right, I'll give her you guys a shout out there to her.
So listening to your music, it definitely made me think. What is your songwriting process like?
Well, first I light black candles and I prayed to the goat god.
There we go. Yeah, that sounds
always
good enough.
It's always been for me. It's more like, I would say, noodling around on the guitar, just sitting down. If I try to write something, that is like where writer's block comes in, and I just can't. Like I can't force it, and so a lot of times I'll just plug in the guitar, start playing, just messing around, doing stuff, and then a lot of times it's almost like an accident. Just something comes and I hear it and I go, "Oh, I like that," and then I put it down and record it.
Mm-hmm.
And
then I hear it and I say, "Ooh, that's cool."
It has to have your blessing, is what you're saying.
Always, even before I was in the band.
well, like on the last album, I gave credit to her. I said that all the first album, it was just me, and she came in the last two. But I said her fingerprint is in all of it, because we've always just been like she said, when we met, I was a huge Guns N' Roses, the Cult,
Yeah, me too.
into that when I before I got saved, and then we met, and she was like, I had the Guns N' Roses poster on my wall, and and she's like, the Cult. I would tape Headbangers Ball and watch the videos over. And we were just we were like, wow, that's cool. We both were just these huge fans. And so anything I do, I always throw it her way. And she, obviously when I'm in the house playing, she hears stuff. And so yeah, it's just mainly just playing around with riffs and then going from there and building on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like God had a plan there, right?
Yeah. And then for me, when he gives me the music and the lyrics, and I go in the studio by myself sometimes, and I just pray and I just ask God to just help me bring something new, something fresh, something that will be pleasing to him, that he would like. And it just happens. It just, God always shows up.
Is this a home studio?
Yes. Yeah. So it's just our office is mainly got all of our music stuff in it.
I mean, you could really start a business on teaching bands how to do the whole process. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. A lot of work.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. No time off. Any time off is, if he's not working in his day job, which he works from home a few days a week, he's in the same place where he does the day job is where he does the studio work.
Well, Jay can relate. He's a recording artist too, and all. Right. So what do you, Robert? What do you do for a living?
I do pre-press work, setting up files for print. I've been working at the company for 23 years.
Oh wow! Cool.
We work with some big clients. One of them is a company that makes coffee. You might have heard about them. And named after a Moby Dick character. and a Battlestar Galactica character.
There you
for the science nerds. But so that's the majority of that, is just, it's a print company and setting up stuff. Got into it because I was doing graphic work, went to school for that and whatnot. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So, and what about you? Do you work from home too?
I'm a fine artist, and I teach fine art as well. So I work from home. I do
Nice.
also my own original jewelry, and
Oh,
I've been
that's
doing some,
fantastic.
That's
I've been doing
interesting.
some shows, and I do portrait work as well.
What's your favorite medium that you like to do art in?
Gosh, I think I always go back to just a plain, simple pencil. That's like my first
Right.
love, because you can just whip it out and anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and get busy creating something that didn't exist.
Recently, I got her
Right.
into trying to work on an iPad. So
Yeah, so I just started learning how to use Procreate, so I'm excited about that new tool, and we'll see
Let me
what
download that
God
right
wants me
now.
to make.
I'm gonna download that while we do this interview.
That I mean
No.
that's what I mean. God is the creator, and that's what as Christians, He gives us creativity, right? So isn't that
Oh
so
yeah,
good to be able to use that for His glory in art and music and all those things?
absolutely. Yeah, I
yes,
miss art
Yeah.
so much because I used to do
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, absolutely. And the whole point is for him to be glorified. It's not about us and what we
Yeah.
can do and look at us. It's more like, look what God did through me. I couldn't do this by myself,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this whole
So,
time I've been focusing on myself.
oh, really?
Oh,
In the mirror, like yo. Oh man, that's so. Do you? What are your art influences? Of course, the albums, themselves and the album artwork looks very metal. But do you have
Well,
any?
actually, we collab. A lot of times he comes up with the idea and he will even piece it together because, like we discussed earlier, he did a lot of album covers for
Right, right,
a lot of
right.
bands, a lot of the classic bands. So he will piece it together, his initial idea, um, and
Mm-hmm.
then he will print it and then hand it to me, and then I'll pray on it and I'll look at it for a while and just ask the Lord, what else do you want me to add to it?
Right.
How can I make it better? How can I make it, um, bring out a little bit of an emotion and, something that will be interesting to look at,
Gotcha. Oh
you
yeah.
know, not just for art's sake, but
so she's more of a traditional artist and paints like she does portraits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to her Instagram or Facebook,
at
Elise
least
Wilson
Wilson
Art, it's
art.
Elis is Wilson. You'll see her stuff, but
Check it out right now.
um, I challenged her with the first album cover. I said,
Yes.
"Look, I said I don't want to do the art the way that I do it because I do it on a computer and it's stuff I'm piecing together and building and stuff." I said, I want to see if you can do a traditional art. And I said, but I'm going to challenge you. So like she said, I built the piece and on the computer showed her what I wanted. And I said, now I want you to turn that into the artwork. And the
All right.
inspiration for that first one was Frank Frazetta's Deathstalker, which
Okay,
is,
there we
if you
go.
see Molly Hatchett's album cover with the guy sitting on the
Yeah,
horse,
I'm
that was kind of the idea
very
behind that
familiar.
one.
I'm
Yeah.
very
And
familiar with Frank
so
Frazetta.
she did a good job. And
I actually
so
have the piece here if you want to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah,
So
that'd be great.
this is done in oil.
There we go. Yes. Now,
Oh
so
wow, that's fantastic.
that is insane. Honestly, yeah. And it does remind me kind of a death dealer.
yeah. So
Yeah, that's what I was
the
just
funny
thinking.
thing
Yeah.
was is the last album cover, and she usually, like, the funny thing was with that one, she came to me, she goes, can I put some skulls on there? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And so she put some skeletons and stuff. But so she always, like, I give her the
Artistic license
well, yeah,
a
but I
little
give her
bit.
the framework to work on, and then she
Mm-hmm.
builds from there. And the last one, a lot of people actually, some of the best praise we got of the album was the artwork. People loved it, the Gloom
Wow.
Breaker artwork.
Yeah,
So,
Absolutely.
which I have it here behind me as well. Let me
Oh,
get it.
cool.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I guarantee you nobody else has that hanging in their house.
I know that's right. Yes, I love it. Really, really great.
So this is for Gloombreaker, right? Yeah, that's
Yes, that's
awesome.
our latest album, Gloom Breaker, and that's available everywhere.
Yay.
Yeah, so so I see basically if I'm looking at this correctly, you recorded Warpriest self-titled and released in 2020, Dark Ages in 21, and then Gloombreaker in 24, right? Three albums.
correct.
and
Yes.
your songs are longer, so you have, I guess, less songs on it, typical of doom metal or whatever. But all of those have been independent releases. So tell us on the back end of getting these released and getting them out to people, what has that been like as a do
Um,
fan?
it's been torture.
It's a lot of work.
Well, that's an honest answer.
So I started back in, I think 2013 was when I first got back. I had taken a break for a while. I used to play in the 80s and the 90s, and then I decided to. I kind of come to a crossroad where I said, God, I said I'm either going to do music or I'm going to do something else. So I tried to get a band together, and it just didn't work, didn't pan out. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to get an education. So then we had our first child, and I just said, I'm going to put all this away. I just said, I'm just, so I had an acoustic guitar, and I would do stuff. And then we actually got into doing praise and worship. I was, on my church's band playing bass, and then when we moved up here, we actually led praise and worship for a bit, a couple years.
Did the church have to tell you to slow down when you were playing, or?
I'm saying,
Yes, do
and I never had a problem with that. But so after that, I got to a place where I just felt like I've been doing a lot of stuff for other people, and it just, I wasn't enjoying it that much, and I just said I want to start doing my own thing, and so I got out the guitar, dusted it off, and started writing. And then, so it took me almost 7 years before I put an album out, and really in the beginning, the goal was just, I just share my music with people. I don't care, but my nature is I try to do things the best I can. And so then I was like, no, I got to make it better. And I was getting too perfection oriented and worked it. And then I always felt like if I'm going to put out an album, most people my age and stuff, they want a CD. So, I was like, I'm going to get a CD, do the CD and stuff. And
gotcha.
And I never really looked towards a label. I just didn't think about it. I just said, I'd just do it on my own, and so I did the first album. And then, which the funny thing was, I was getting ready to release it and COVID hit. And then I was like, oh.
That's so big story.
And so that took a while. And then I had about, I really, the funny thing is, even though the music tends to be a little bit longer, I really did say I only want to do 7 songs, because I felt like sometimes you get an album that's got 10, 13 songs on it, and there's like 5 or 6 fillers, and I just didn't want to write songs just to put them out. So I went and had maybe like 3 or 4 songs written for Dark Ages. But I knew there was a separation in my mind. I said these first songs were the first ones I wrote, and I really want to just put that album out. And then I said these other ones, I felt like they were different sounding. So I said, I'm going to put them on another album. So I had the concept of Dark Ages already. And the funny thing was, I had 2 songs, I think, where I just said, I can't sing these songs. So I looked at her and I said, hey, would you like to sing these songs? And so I just gave them to her and just said, do whatever you want to do with them, And so they were written, and there was a band that I really like called Witch Mountain. They're a doom band out of Seattle, I believe, and it's female led. So I said, let's do some music like that, something different, And so she sang on 3 songs, I think, on that album.
Yeah.
And then so when the next one came out, I said, I'm going to write more songs for you, and what is it, 3 or 4 on this album?
I think so. I've kind of lost track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it works. That's awesome.
And with this the new album, I wanted a little bit of variety. Like I said, I really love different style of music, and when it comes to metal, I really love new metal. I really love Falling in Reverse, even though their lyrics are horrible. But the music is brilliant, and the writing is brilliant, and the talent is brilliant. So I learned from that, take the good out of the bad, right? And I wanted, for the last 5 years, I've been kind of toying and with the idea of using a little bit of aggressive vocals,
Yeah.
and just trying to learn online, and it was just really hard, and I just about gave up on it. I was like, it's never going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do it. I've been singing too many sweet worship music for way too many years.
That's
Um, and then he wrote the bonus song that you can only get when you purchase the CD. And he, made
Well,
a
actually, you
way
did
for
it
that.
on Dogs of Doom
I did a
first.
little bit in the Dogs of Doom, yeah, that the last,
She actually brought that in. She goes, "Can
yeah.
I do a harsh growl thing on the end?" I said, "If you can pull it off." And she'd been kind of practicing it, so I knew she was working on it and learning it.
Yeah, so that was the first time trying it, and then on the actual bonus song, I go a little bit harder on that,
nice.
and I was
That's
able to do
awesome.
it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool! It all worked out.
Well, yeah,
Oh, okay.
Jay.
Actually, so yeah, okay. So, what is your approach to live music? You all have a live band that you all work with, session musicians or anything?
No,
No.
we've talked about it, but where we are, there's not much of a scene. I mean, I think we have one rock kind of slash metal club,
Yeah.
but it just was more because when I started the band, it was more like a project where I just wanted to put out my music, and I never really had the thought of playing. I mean, I had played in bands back in the early '90s
When we
and
met, yeah.
stuff, and I was just like, I was like thinking I don't have the time and, and the effort to try and do that. And
I think with working so much on your day job and
yeah,
trying to pull everything together, that a team really should be doing all of that work, and just him doing it all himself. I think that just didn't allow for, trying to look for people and try to get together and work out schedules, and figured out rehearsal time and where do you meet up, especially with not
Sure.
having a lot of artists around us that, even if there was artists around us, they wouldn't be in the doom genre. It's,
Yeah, I
it's
got
so
you.
much of a niche within a niche, and being a Christian doom band is like that's another niche. So it was just more convenient to
Yeah.
just do it all ourselves, and do it whenever we had the open time to do it, and do it in our studio. So
also it's funny because you don't see, I would say you don't see a lot of metalheads, especially in our area, but you find out that sometimes people are like closeted metalheads.
yeah.
You know, like when I go to church, I don't, I'm not wearing black. I'm not wearing, and to me, like when I see people talking about, I want to go to a metal church, I'm like, I don't want to go to a metal church. I just go to church for Jesus, and I go for the Bible, and I go for the fellowship, and the fellowship is not always going to be metalheads, and
Yeah.
and the fellowship that we have in our group is all about life, having children, our age, range and where we're at and stuff, and all the things that we have to deal with, and our jobs and stress and
Right.
all that. And that's to me really the gospel. It's like metal is like a secondary type thing. It's like
Right.
it's like
Yeah. The
Yeah,
most
it's
important thing
an
is
avenue.
pointing
Yeah.
each other to Christ, and while doing life together, and
Yeah.
being there for each other. So I would say we have a group of very close friends that we meet after service, and we do life together. We share, our ups and downs, our tragedies, our success,
and
and
they just give me the side glance like when it comes to my music.
Well, that's how it should be, though. I mean, I have a group, and I totally they don't really relate to me either. That we do life with. We call them small groups or whatever.
Right.
yes,
But yeah, same. And yeah, they just
but they're
they
very
give me the side eye
supportive.
too.
Yeah, but they're very supportive.
Sure.
They
Well, that's
Yeah.
they call
awesome.
us they call us
Yeah,
eccentric.
especially when the first album came out, they were like, I listened to it on Spotify once.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had One of our friends played the video for the family on their big TV screen.
Love it.
Oh
That was
wow!
on the video for Dark Ages. It was Fractured Mirror,
Oh,
and they told us, yeah, he had all his
that
kids.
was so sweet.
He has adult kids, and it's like it had them all sit down and made him watch it. And I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
I need to
awesome.
apologize to his family.
Yeah, they're into the kids were into Taylor Swift, so not our audience.
No. Well, tell us about the spell of the Gray Sorcerer. What is? How did that song come about, and what is that song about specifically?
Well, the song is deals with depression. The spell of the Gray Sorcerer is being under depression and being kind of like locked in a dungeon. A lot of my approach lyrically, I was like a big fan of Dio, and Zeppelin, and I loved all the
Fantasy. Yep.
So that was like Warpriest, like all the lyrics, if you really look at them, is taking our modern problems and then trying to talk about them in a fantasy kind of a way. Because to me, that's always metal. Anything fantasy, dragons, and stuff like that.
More poetic.
But so that once again was just a song, just noodling around, and I came up with it, and it just evolved the way it did, and but it's something that the whole album, I would say it's like a kind of like a concept, and each song deals with a negative emotion. Dogs of Doom is about fear. The second song is King Death. I think King Death, but that's not so much an emotion. That's just death itself. And so Spell of the Gray Sorcerer was dealing with depression.
Yeah.
And the song ultimately is not, you got to listen to the album because it's not really hope in that song.
Mm-hmm.
It's just talking about and relating to it. And then Gloombreaker would be, that's Christ. He's, the Gloombreaker who comes through. And so we kind of like, if you look at that song, it leads into the Sorrow Collector, I believe, which is ultimately all those negative emotions and everything lead to sorrow and lead to sadness. And then the Gloombreaker kind of almost continues on where a lot of it's really dealing with kind of depression again and being caught into that deepness and then crying out to the Gloombreaker to break free. So,
but the Sorrow Collector, it really emphasizes that even in our sorrow and our grief, that God will use it. It's not all in vain. Our suffering is not just for nothing. There is victory in it, and God will grow us and strengthen us through that sorrow, and build us up and strengthen our character, and ultimately strengthen our faith in Him, that no matter what we go through, that He loves us and He cares for us, and there's hope, and there's a better place waiting for us in Christ.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
It's just when you said or mentioned Frank Frazetta earlier, I was like, okay, yeah, I get where a lot of this is actually going for sure. I mean, I've always been a fan of his art, and actually, Larry Elmore doesn't live too far away from where I live at.
He was a good artist too.
Yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons and all that. He's done so much artwork, good stuff. But yeah, one of the songs that stuck out to me by you all, and I'm just trying to see if it is on. Yeah, it's on Gloombreaker. It's on King Death.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that song for a second. That's just like that's probably the song that caught my attention the most off of that particular album.
That originally, I have about like 4 songs that I originally wrote for the album. Mm-hmm. It was funny because it took me a long time after Dark Ages, but I had like about 3 or 4 songs written, and I was like, I had this whole thing. I was like, I'm gonna knock these songs out. I'm gonna get this done and get this album out in a year, and it didn't happen. And 3 or 4 of those songs, I actually Dogs of Doom. There's one, The Gilded Serpent, and one was called Death Knocking. Those all the songs were all written. I don't know if the lyrics were written, but I ended up reevaluating and just felt like these do not fit this album. And so I just threw them off to the side. And then I came out with King Death. And I was, when I work from home, I go walking at a local park. It's like a wildlife type park. It's trails, mountains, hills. And it's really, it's a way for me just to decompress. And a lot of times we walk together and we talk, and other times I'm by myself and I listen to my music over and over again, analyzing everything. Just, like when you hear a song, I've listened to that song at least 1,000 times. And
At least.
and so I was actually listening to another secular band called Orchid, which is they had a song, I think it was called He Who Walks Alone. And I really liked the groove of the song. So I was just humming it and I was thinking about it. So I came home, and that was one of those songs I actually knocked out real quickly. I just wrote the song like in a couple days, got it all done and everything.
So nice when that happens.
And
Sure.
in my head, I said, and it may not translate, but I said, I hear Randy Rose. I hear this song is like a Randy Rose type song.
Sure.
So I actually went to her and I said, how would you like to try and sing like Randy Rose?
You wanted me to sing it.
And she was like, I don't know.
I mean, I could give it a try. But
I'll sing it, and then you just imitate what I'm singing. So I sang the song, and she kept listening, and she goes,
like, no,
I know, you just did.
I was like, no, man. I was like, it sounds great. It's like, he did an awesome job. I'm like, why fix if it ain't broke?
Right.
So that's how that song came about. But it was lyrically, it's just one of those songs where I kind of wanted to play on the thought of, in the beginning that you're listening to the song, and I'm almost like talking about how tough or powerful death is, but then later on I go into the song and and just talk about how it's going to end for death, as if he was a person, and and that it's going to be taken away because I talked about this the other day on Facebook. It's like we've had like about maybe like 6 or 8 friends of ours that have passed away. Some of them when we were very young, just senseless, just accidents, things that happen. And it's been one of the things that in my life for me, it's been very hard to deal with. Even though these people were believers and you know you're going to see them, it's just the hole that's left in your heart. And sometimes if they're married or have children, thinking of what they go through, and it's just it's a very hard thing to get over sometimes, and it can last a long time. And so it was just a song I wanted to write about how death seems powerful, but in the end it's going to be destroyed. And and the great thing is a lot of these friends that we know are believers, so we will see them again, but it's still tough, being without them.
Yeah, that don't make it easy, but yeah. Well, so tell us one thing, and both of you can answer this, about yourself that fans and people watching this might not know about you.
I'll let you go first.
I'll go first. I don't even think my friends know this, but I actually like to play cocktail jazz early in the morning when I begin my day and make my coffee.
Okay. Jay probably listens to some. He's a jazz musician too.
Oh yeah, very relaxing.
Nice. Yeah, I love jazz.
Well, that's a good one. And Robert?
I was thinking about that because you told me you might ask it. The funny thing is, on Facebook, I'm a very open person, so a lot of people probably know stuff about me already. But the one thing that came to mind was, she knows this. She knows it to a T. Is that I would say I'm a real good mimic. Not I wouldn't say a personator, but I am a mimic. It's been that way since I was a young person. Where if I hang out with people long enough, like our friends and stuff like that, I can imitate them, and people just are like, "Oh my God, you just sounded just like that person."
Wow.
And
You capture their essence.
and so there's certain things I do. So that was one thing I was like, probably a lot of people don't know it about me, but it's not like everybody I know, I don't do it. It's just sometimes people have certain quirks or certain things that I can latch on to and kind of just catch that essence and mimic them. And it's usually people that I've been with for a while too. Like some people have almost been like, make fun of me. And I'm like, I can't do that.
So what you're saying is if you were a rapper, your stage name would be Chameleon, right? Is that...
That's hilarious.
With a K.
With a K.
There we go. And anything's possible. Anything's possible. Okay, so both of you all, what is your favorite thing about being a Christian?
Oh, wow. My favorite thing about being a Christian is that I'm never alone. Growing up, being raised by my grandmother, I was surrounded by all my aunts and uncles and just a house full of people. And then when I moved to live with my aunt and uncle in the city, he was always working and she was always helping some family members. So I was alone a lot. So in a big city, I was always by myself, always having to, just watch my back and grow up really fast. And when I came to the States, it got even worse. They got divorced, and then I was really alone. So once I knew the Lord was with me always, I didn't have that fear anymore.
That's good.
For me, it's potluck. I mean, where else are you going to get those casserole dishes?
That's great.
You got to be Baptist for that.
That's a tough question. I would probably say that it's the word. God's word to me has it's been a rock, throughout all my life. It's been something I can always go to and always get something from it. I've been saved 33 years now, and you're always learning something new. And it just really, it connects you to God. You can see his heart, his mind in it. And it connects us as believers. We have, the word is what brings us all together. And I think also, to me, it's like all of its pages are almost written with the blood of the saints. I mean, it's like they carried this thing through the ages, and some of them died living it, and it's amazing that we have this. And I was watching there's this guy I follow, Wesley Huff, and he's a guy who deals with the word and the kind of like apologetics and stuff. He was recently on Joe Rogan, and it's a great episode. I mean, Joe Rogan's being Joe Rogan, but just to listen to how he interacts with Joe Rogan and just the things that he teaches you about the word. Even at my age, it's like there's still things that I was just like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think I
just
saw a clip from him. Didn't he explain the gospel to Joe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
that clip. That's amazing.
Whatever it is, like 2 hours or something. It's really fascinating. I mean, just he, like, one thing I thought was interesting. I never realized this. He was talking about when you're reading the scripture and you see him, and they'll say Peter, who was Simon, and all that. He was saying that kind of descriptors that they put in there shows you how true that was, because there were so many people named Simon that they had descriptors to try and distinguish who they were.
Right.
And they said that's just how you would talk if you had a room full of Johns. You'd say Big John, Little John, and stuff. And and he was showing how even other, books that we have that we say, like the Apocrypha, and they don't have descriptors like that because they're not, they're not true books, and stuff. But so the word to me has just been always an amazing thing and just a solid thing in my life,
That's good. Awesome. Well, I love that, man. Well, what can the Christian metal community do to support Warpriest?
Just give me cold hard cash. I mean,
See, I love an honest answer.
Oh gosh. We would just love to just have people enjoy our music and play it on Spotify and purchase our CDs. And we got our new album, Gloom Breaker. You know, and we have the physical CD. We have online, the digital, and purchase our merch. You know,
no more Dark Ages where we ran out of those.
Yeah, Dark Ages physical CD is gone, but you can still get it on digital.
Yeah.
And support us that way. And just like you know, one thing that it's such a small thing to do when you listen to an artist on YouTube and you like the music. Like if you just literally like it and post a comment, you know, like even if it's just this is great or an emoji or anything, it just helps the algorithm let you know people know that this band is being viewed and enjoyed, and it will show it to more people.
Yeah,
sharing is caring.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, just being active and share it in our Christian metal group. Share their songs and
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
And even like if you know, even go to our page on Facebook, you know, if you post a comment, like, you know, it makes it a big difference when it comes to the algorithm. Everything is run by the algorithm, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So if you just like something and you just view it, it really doesn't help us. You know, even if you enjoy it, it doesn't count, let's say, when it comes to the algorithm.
That makes sense. Well, hey, this has been great. I appreciate it. Love this, and we hope this gains you some more fans, and as we spread the gospel through music.
Well,
Amen.
we appreciate it. And it was great
appreciate
hanging
that.
out with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really an honor to meet you guys, and thanks for the great work you guys are doing. I know moderating is not easy.
Oh yeah, you guys.
I shall never tell.
Well, the pay's good at least.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Jay and I was about to retire.
Right.
Yeah.
Pray for you guys.
Yeah.
Hang in there.
That's interesting. We actually have, because of the time zones and all that, we actually have about 20 moderators all over the world, from Norway to Australia, Canada.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So, but what we have to have, because it's such a large group. But
that's right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We appreciate all of you guys.
Well, you're welcome.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah. I would say that me and Jimmy, we're probably, obviously because of these videos, we're probably two of the most vocal. And Jimmy's definitely he's the head honcho.
I don't know about all that, but
but there's like three guys that kind of is it 3 or 4? You, Andrew, Vicus?
Well, Andrew's in Australia, and Vicus is in South Africa.
Yeah. So so it's definitely, like I said, all around the world. But yeah, you'll definitely see activity and comments from some more than others. But we
That's right.
All of
Yeah,
them.
some of them are quiet but deadly. So.
Oh yeah, they're deleting. Like we're talking, they're deleting.
Yeah.
Works
Hope y'all have a great day.
Blessings to
Okay,
you.
you too.
Thank you so much, guys. God bless you.